here it is. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cap by the Boston Scally Company. In Boston Scally's own words, nothing hits like the nostalgia of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Saturday morning cartoons, endless pizza, and bodacious battles against the Foot Clan. If this was your childhood, this cap is for you. Here's the cap in hand. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cap by the Boston Scally Company. And what a cool cap this is for people who grew up with this show, with kids who grew up with this show in the late 80s and the early 90s. I am one of those kids. I adored the Ninja Turtles. I absolutely loved them, just like every other kid I knew around my age at that time. We were all just completely enamored, and it was really because of the 1987 show, the animated show that came out, and it got people hooked, it got kids hooked, and then, oh my goodness, the toys, the merchandise, the video games, there was Ninja Turtles ice cream, there was cereal, board games, all sorts of cool stuff that went along with the Turtles. And, you know, you think about the Ninja Turtles, and that is truly where their popularity really began, was in 87 when that show launched. It had been a comic book before then, but they went ahead and made this show, and it was a lot different than the comic book. It was a lot more kid-friendly, nowhere near as dark, but this show came out. And what's so interesting about this show, as most people don't really realize this, I don't think, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1987 show ran for 9 years. This show ran for 9 years. That is insane for an animated show of its time. If you just want to compare something like He-Man or Transformers or G.I. Joe, those shows lasted, they didn't even last 5 years. I think it was somewhere, most of those shows lasted 3 years, maybe 4. One of them did, but not even 5. So this was unprecedented for a cartoon like this to go on as long as it did, well into the 90s. It almost made it to the 2000s, which is just, it's hard to even think that it could have done that. But this show was enormously popular. You can't even put into words, I don't think, how popular the Ninja Turtles were. I'll never forget, you know, when Santa Claus came and I got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles playset, the sewer set. I was so incredibly happy. But that's what everybody, you know, everybody wanted the Technodrome, you know, the blimp, the turtle van. We wanted all those things. You know, we would get together and we'd bring our Turtles toys together because one person would have this one that you didn't have, and then vice versa. It was just such a fun time. Just such a great childhood, I think, for people growing up in that era, me included. And so when Boston Scally, when they announced that they got this property, I was over the moon excited. I was so happy that I was going to be getting a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Boston Scally cap. So I couldn't believe it. Oh, and going back to the show, just, you know, even shows now, you know, live action shows, this show had almost 200 episodes, I think. It was about 195, 197, just so many seasons, 9 to 10 seasons, 10 seasons, I believe. So this show was just insane. It kept the popularity going. So look at this cap. I think Boston Scally did a great job with this cap. It is like the turtle shell that you see there, and then the inside, oh man, those are the turtles that we all know and love, that everybody got, you know, they look like that. That's how everybody who knew the Turtles, that's how they looked. And then you have the brim. It looks like the ooze that, of course, transformed the Turtles into the Ninja Turtles. And so just such a cool interior there. And then the brim, I like that color green there on the brim as well. So I did get the pin set. Oh man, you know, I gotta say, Boston Scally, this was a release. I didn't know how big of a release this was going to be. This was huge for Boston Scally. They went all out on this release. Not only this was part of the pin set that they released, and I'll show it here, and a closer up version as well. But they had, of course, the other three turtles, Mikey, Leo, or Mike. I have Leo on the cap, Mikey, Donatello, and Raph. And so we have all the 4 turtles, of course, but then they released 2 other pins. So they released a pizza pin, a TMNT pizza pin, which you see here. And then they also released this pin, which it's really small. I didn't know what I was going to put on my cap, and I'll show it on the side as well, so you can actually see what it looks like. I just wanted to show you the size there. A really small pin. I don't think I've ever seen a Boston Scally pin that tiny before, any other one. But some really cool pins came out with this. And now Boston Scally, they did catch a lot of guff for this because they say they release everything at noon, but if you dig around a little bit, you go to the site early, about 10 minutes early, you can start getting these things. They'll start releasing them, and then you can grab them before noon. Just a little insider secret there. But these pins, a lot of people were really upset because these 2 pins, the pizza pin and the logo pin, they sold out within 4 minutes. I mean, I think 2 minutes, within 2 minutes of noon. I mean, they were gone. The 4 turtle set, that lasted a little bit longer, but I don't even think that pin set lasted an hour. And then, of course, you had all these, scalpers, putting them up on eBay for 6 times the price, which we know they're going to do that, but it's just really unfortunate. But they did do that, of course. But this pin set, it just sold out like wildfire. And like I said, Boston Scally went all out with this set. They went all out with this release, with the Ninja Turtles release. Not only did they release the adult cap that you see here on my head, they released a kids cap as well, which it was actually really cool because, as you see here, it actually came with the logo sewed on. So I thought that was really neat. We didn't get that with the adult cap. That's okay. But I'm like, you're wearing a Ninja Turtles cap as an adult anyways. I mean, who cares? Just go ahead and put it on there. But it was only available with the kids cap. And then they also released this shirt that you see here. It's like the pizza box. They released a kid size in this as well. And then they also released this hoodie, this really cool hoodie with the TMNT logo there. And then also all 4 turtles on the side there. So they went completely all out with this release, and I went all out too. I got everything, and it was so funny because a little bit after it released, Brandon from Dubs Hub, he texted me and he was like, "Did you get it?" I was like, "Yeah, I got it all. I got all of it. I couldn't help it. I'm such a big TMNT fan. I've loved it since I was 5 years old." And actually, the movie, the original 1990 movie, when I went to see that, the first movie I ever saw in theaters was The Land Before Time. It came out, I think it re-released in 88, went back to theaters. I saw it then. I was so young then. I just, whatever. But this was the TMNT movie when it released in 1990. That was the first movie I remember actually wanting to see. I wanted to see that movie, so my stepfather took me, and it was such a departure tonally from this show that this cap is based on. But it was so dark and gritty compared to the show. I think my mind was blown. I just could not believe what I was seeing on screen. I was such a big Shredder fan. I always loved the bad guys. For some reason, when I was a kid, I couldn't help it. Because they were just a lot cooler, I think, a lot of the times. But I loved Shredder, and I'll never forget the moment that his entrance, when you first see Shredder in his costume and his ninja uniform, with his flowing cape, and the shadow comes in first. It's such a cool shot. And I'll always remember, that has always stuck with me, seeing that scene in theaters. I forgot a lot of the rest of the movie, from seeing it in theaters the first time, but not that scene. That stuck with me forever. So I was a huge, huge Turtles fan. I just cannot accentuate that enough. And, Moose actually did a review on this cap, so if you haven't checked out his review, definitely go check it out. And he mentioned the original Nintendo game, because I think all of us played that as well. And that game is tough as nails. That is one of the hardest games I've ever played in my entire life. That was Nintendo tough. And the dam level, I'm not using that as an expletive. I'm not cussing here. That was actually the DAM level, where you're swimming around trying to disarm the bombs. I think that was the end of that game for most of us when we were kids, because it's like the second or third level in that game. It was so incredibly tough, that game. And I think really the best Ninja Turtles game, and it might always be, is this game, Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. This is just such a great game. I still have my copy. I love this game so much. It was based on the arcade game that came out, but then they retweaked it to make it not sort of such a quarter muncher for the home consoles at the time. And so I just, as you can tell from the intro, I love everything Turtles. I have this too. I have so much, but I have this, the VHS. This was, it included the pilot episode on here. I've always loved that cover. I look at this cover and it's just pure nostalgia for me, that cover. So such a cool TMNT, and other shows came out after the 87. There was an 2003 iteration, I believe. I never got into that one all that much. And then there was a 2012 one, which, not counting nostalgia, I think that's probably my favorite one. I really, really like the 2012 version, but I'm going on and on about my turtle love for the fandom. I'm such a fan of this. So back to the cap. Yeah, as you can see, I did only put, I may have already even mentioned this. I got a little off track there. I did only put Leonardo for now. I might end up putting all 4 turtles. I'm not sure what I will do. If I already said that in this review, I'm sorry. So I'm not exactly sure what I could do, but man, this is the first time I'm really looking at this on the head here, and I really like the way that it looks. I love the interior. Oh, and I was saying, they really went, Boston Scally went all out for this release. So you see the dust bag sitting over here. So they made 4 of these with the turtles, and they randomly gave these with the caps. So you didn't get to pick which one you got, but I got Wrath. He's probably my least favorite turtle, but that's okay. I still like them all. Who cares? You're just hanging it in the closet anyways with the dust bag. But they also released a pizza box dust bag, which looks just like this. That one would have been really cool to get. And then for the kids cap, it only came, they had all 4 turtles on one dust bag. That looked really cool. I was actually hoping that would have been for the adult release, but I didn't buy a kid's cap just to get it. And I'm going to say something here that, it's been an issue going on, I think, a lot lately, actually, with Boston Scally, with their collaborations, with their more unusual, some people say gimmicky caps. They released this, and, a lot of the social media talkings and, conversations were, why are they releasing this kids cap? Oh, another gimmicky cap, because the donut actually came out today. And, this came out last week. And so they're like, when's Boston Scally going to release an adult cap? All this stuff. And, I'm just thinking, well, for one thing, and Boston Scally even said themselves, they have hundreds of caps available. Not all of their caps are like this, right? I mean, they have some more simplistic caps for people who want that. But the thing is, this cap sold out within the day, I'm pretty sure. The shirt and the adult hoodie sold out within a day or two at most. So in Boston Scally's defense, why not? Why would you not make these when these caps, these, gimmicky caps, these kid caps, as people like to call them, are selling out faster than anything else they offer? Because you look back a couple of weeks with the Salt Box, they released, the original Salt Box and then 3 more new ones. And then we had the Jake 3 release, and then they re-released the Dad caps. None of those caps are sold out, guys. So, and that's been weeks. So I get it in a way, because we kind of come to expect something, a certain brand from a company. But Boston Scally has proven time and time again, they go out there, they make different kinds of caps. And if, in their defense, if you don't like it, go buy something else, right? Because they're not the only flat cap company out there making these caps. Go to Swisher, go to Peaky Hat, go to all these different places. There's so many that Strakowski, that's another big one. There's so many other places that you can go to buy caps. And if you can't find something that you like on the Boston Scally site, then you just don't like caps because they have so much to choose from. It's such a big operation they have going. So they're one of probably the only company out there that can do collabs like this. And I'm glad they do, because for me, it sets them apart. It makes them more interesting. And honestly, I thought they were not going to do apparel anymore, or because they hadn't done anything for a long time. And so when they did this hoodie and the shirts, this was the first big apparel release they've had in a long time. They did today with the donut. They actually released a shirt with it as well. So the donut, the chocolate donut is what came out today. And it is not really, it's nowhere near as loud as the original frosted donut cap. But I'm excited to get that one as well. I like the donut. I couldn't pass up the donut. So maybe me and Moose will be the only two reviews on YouTube when that comes out, because a lot of people didn't seem to like the donut either. But this is, I feel like I'm getting off track here, but this is, oh man, such an awesome cap. And they could have went so many different ways with this cap. But I really like it. I like the shell, and I like that you can put the pin on so you know exactly what it is. No 80s, 90s kid, is not going to know what a Ninja Turtle is. Most of us know anyway, because they are such a huge property. And even going now, there was a movie recently. I think there's going to be another movie. And so this is a franchise, that's never going to end. I don't think Ninja Turtles is going to be around probably as long as the earth, because they just always sell. If you can bring something, a licensed product from 1987, and sell it to people now, who could blame a company for doing that? So I'm going to head. I know I've rattled on and on about the Ninja Turtles here. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to rate the Ninja Turtles cap by Boston Scally Company. This is such a cool cap. And as much of my nostalgia is in play here, I've just got to give this cap I'm going to have to give it a 3. I am. I'm just kidding. I'm not giving it a 3. I'm giving it a 5. Of course I'm giving it a 5. I love this cap. I love Ninja Turtles. I'll always love it. I don't care what anyone else says. This is one of my favorite caps that Boston Scally has released. I'm so glad that they have enough, I don't want to say something that'll, they have enough grit to release a cap like this. And so I'm just so happy they do, because, you can find, simplistic, more traditional caps elsewhere. And Boston Scally still offers that. People act like they don't still make those caps when a cap like this comes out, but they do. They do, continue to release more traditional looking caps. And so I, for one, am so happy they release caps like this. So I was so excited to get this cap in. And so I'm over the moon for this cap. I just can't believe it's even on my head. I can't believe this is even real. A Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cap, from a cap company in 2026. So such a cool thing. So that is my review for the Ninja Turtles cap. A huge release for Boston Scally, and it paid off dividends for them. I can't imagine all the money they made. And some people have complained, that, the pins sold out so quick. They did have a 5 limit on this cap. And then there was a 3 limit on the donut cap today. So it looks like they're trying to, kind of push the scalpers away a little bit. They didn't do that with the pin set. I wish they would have, because these are such cool pins that are going along with this cap. So before I ramble on anymore, this is it for me for the Ninja Turtles cap. One of my all-time favorite Boston Scally releases already. I love this cap. 5 in your face, cowabunga, radical. 5 from me. I love this cap. Thank y'all so much for joining me today, and I do hope y'all have a great rest of your day.